We are following an extremely unusual story out of Cuba. Just insane to hear this. Cuban authorities, the Cuban Coast Guard basically shot and killed 4 people on a boat that had a Florida license plate or Florida registration, a private boat. This was not a U.S. Coast Guard or Navy or anything like that. This was a private boat. According to the Cuban Interior Ministry, they killed 4 people and 6 were injured and are receiving medical attention. I imagine will also be prosecuted with the full extent of the Cuban law. What the Cuban authorities are saying is that people who were on this boat were armed and started shooting at the Cuban Coast Guard when they approached, and that's why the Cubans shot back. All we know right now is what they are saying. This is happening as Cuba is enduring one of the most cataclysmic economic situations we've seen in decades because of the blockade from the Trump administration that has cut off all imports of oil into Cuba and has threatened tariffs on any country that provides oil to Cuba. So the situation there is extremely dire. But of course, the U.S. logic is pressure works. And they hope that the situation in terms of the Cuban regime changes and that pressure pushes them in that direction. But this is not only an extremely rare, but also kind of a coincidence that it's happening at a moment or the day after the 30th anniversary of the killing of 4 Cubans who were part of Hermanos al Rescate, or Brothers to the Rescue. Hermanos al Rescate was an organization that in the 90s would help guide boats coming out of Cuba and taking Cuban refugees, people leaving Cuba, and help guide them towards U.S. authorities so that they could seek asylum. 30 years ago, there were a couple of Cessna planes that were part of that mission, and they were shot down by the Cuban Air Force, which alleged that they were invading Cuba's airspace. That 30th anniversary happened yesterday. Today, again, 4 people on a boat from the U.S. were killed. What they were doing there, potentially rescuing Cubans, helping people get out, we don't know yet, but we'll continue reporting on this.